just don't see it any other way. I'm too weak to make the climb. I need a miracle this time. That's when.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio in the town of Geraldine, Alabama. We are your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. No, you could be doing anything else, but you are listening to us right now. Right now, we have a very special guest with us. He's no stranger to this show. His name is Alan Mendenhall. And he is, you know, a lot of things. You're executive director at the Manuel Johnson Center for Political Economy, and you carry a big business card. What else do you do?
Well, I have actually just resigned the publisher and editor-in-chief in literary review after 11 years of doing it. So that was a sad moment, but it was one of those things that was necessary because life had just got too busy and complicated. But I'm excited about being able to narrow my focus a little bit more and really start working on building some new and exciting programs at the Johnson Center here at Troy.
That sounds good. So what have we got to look forward to? What are in the plans?
Well, one really exciting development, at least exciting to me, and by the way, I apologize, I'm going to be looking at multiple screens because my camera's here, but my screen where I see you is actually here. So to look at you and talk, I've got to look over here. But we're going to build this free enterprise scholars program, which is going to be an antidote to woke business. I'm really excited about this because you will not see stuff like this on most university campuses. But businesses in America have become politicized, as we all know. It used to be that large corporations would stay out of the political fray. They wouldn't choose sides, or if they donated some to Republicans, some to Democrats. But now companies seem compelled to take sides in political contests, and particularly to adopt social values that are out of keeping with what the majority of Americans believe. So we want to launch a program that will start educating business majors right at the level before they get out in the business world on why they don't have to apologize for being in business, why it's actually great for honorable businesses to create value in society and respect the moral autonomy of all persons, and that business leaders don't have to apologize for profits earned because they're contributing to society, they're doing good things. They don't have to purchase absolution by wokeness, for example. A lot of people in corporate America think, oh, everyone thinks businesses are these big bad guys chasing nothing but profits, so therefore we should adopt all these socially leftist causes that we don't believe in just so that we're not the bad guys in a Disney film. But they don't have to do that. They're already contributing great value to society and doing great things to improve the lives and institutions of people around them. So we want to equip young people with the knowledge of what business does to contribute to society so that when they get out there, they don't feel that they have to drift into wokeness and drift into progressive leftism in order to be palatable, as it were. And so that's one program we're looking at.
You know, let's talk for a minute about that, because I don't understand why you should apologize for being successful.
You shouldn't.
And I don't understand why you should pick, you know, because, I mean, I love customers and I love to interview people of all. I mean, I interview Democrats as much as I do Republicans. You know, so I like seeing all sides.
Yeah, I think that what happens with these business leaders is that they're caricatured on television and television shows. I mean, the archetypal villain for a Disney movie is going to be some sort of corporate CEO. They're always the bad guys, and they're always been on destroying the environment, or poor people, or exploiting marginalized communities. And this really just isn't the case in the real world. What people forget is that businesses make profits by adding value for consumers. When people buy goods and services, they make businesses have profits. So if businesses aren't doing anything, if they're not creating value to society, if they're not helping consumers, they're not going to stay alive. They're not going to be valuable. They're not going to get profits. They're not going to be profitable. So businesses have to find what consumers want. And then in a state of competition, the costs get driven down. When businesses compete with each other, they have to figure out ways to get products to customers cheaper, easier, more quickly, and that requires producing goods and services at affordable prices. So competition actually makes it even better for the ordinary consumer, for everyday Americans, which means that the poorest of the poor benefit from a system of competition. Competition is not a bad thing. Competition is a good thing. And you can't get monopolies on a free market. You get monopolies through government subsidies and when government projects and when government agencies pick winners and losers. But in a state of competition, it's too difficult for a business to constantly keep up with the competition and control market share. It's just not possible because competition makes it impossible.
I love competition. Competition is the best thing that ever happened to my business.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, it is. It actually
Exactly.
gives me more opportunity, and they talk about me, which is awesome. And they get the word out for me. I don't have to do a thing.
Yeah, it's great. It's how you improve yourself. You know, it's just like, what if you were a track star? If you had the physical prowess to be a track star, but all you did was go out and run the 800 by yourself, you would probably get slower and slower. You would not get better. But guess what? When you've got a meet, the next week, or you've got to train for the Olympics or train for whatever, you have competition and you're going to make yourself better and better and better. And that works that way in business as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm all for it. Let's let it happen.
Yeah.
But I can't say turning away, and this has never made sense to me about woke companies, is where you're basically what you're doing is telling half of the country not to do business with you.
Right.
So
That's
why
exactly
does that, I mean, why would you have that idea?
It doesn't make sense to me. And it's going to be harmful in the long term. We're starting to see businesses fracture or splinter into sides. So for every Starbucks or Ben and Jerry's or whatever other left-wing corporation there is, there's going to be a Hobby Lobby, a Chick-fil-A, a My Pillow. I mean, we're starting to see that sort of divide. There may be a time when we start having conservative version lines versus left-wing version of airlines, or this is where you go to, you get fast food from this conservative restaurant or fast food. It's starting to shift that way, where the country is getting so divided that all of our political preferences and choices are spilling over into everyday things. I mean, when you go into a restaurant and even the type of straw you use is politicized, whether it's a paper straw, a plastic straw, then we almost can't escape politics. It's like the politicization of everything, and we don't get a break from it. We really, as human beings, we're political animals, yes, but this sort of massive nationalist, large-scale political scheme, we need breaks from it. We don't need to be, picking toilet paper based on our political views.
I don't think we need to pick straws. I'm going to tell you, I think the dumbest thing ever invented is a paper straw. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work.
I love the restaurant Ted's, the Ted's Montana Grill, and they make these bison burgers, and they're excellent. But they have these plastic straws, and they disintegrate by the time your Coca-Cola. They're just, the paper gets in a good straw.
Yeah, if you've got anything with any kind of acid in it at all, cola products or whatever, it's just not going to work. Now, there are other things you're working on too. Let's talk about those.
Well, I have a novel coming out, and I'm not really working on it anymore because it's done, but I'm working on the things that that are sort of ancillary to that, like getting ready for promotional work and book tours and that sort of thing. So that's exciting. I've never written a novel before, so this will be my first novel. But also the Johnson Center, again, here at Troy, we're going to establish a partnership of some kind. We don't quite yet know what it looks like, with a university in Guatemala called the Universidad Francisco Marroquín. And they were built on free market principles, and they operate as a business, unlike any other American universities, which look to government subsidies and all that kind of stuff. They are completely private. They force every department to be profitable on their own terms. So they are not going to, let's say it's the English department. I don't know, they obviously it's a Spanish speaking university, but let's say it's a literature department. If the literature does not remain profitable by itself, they'll just eliminate it. And they have no tenure for faculty. So if faculty are not performing, if they're not publishing, if they're not teaching well, they'll fire them. It's like the real world, you know, the faculty don't have to be protected by tenure and then never do anything anymore. And they are sort of known in Guatemala as the Harvard Yale of Guatemala, but in an inverse to our university structure, they are considered conservative. So in Guatemala, all the left-wing politicians that are wealthy, they send their kids to UFM, and they complain, oh, we have to send our kids to this right-wing university. We wish the university weren't right-wing, which is the exact opposite of the way it is here, where people sort of, you know, reluctantly send their kids to Harvard and Yale if they can get in, because they know, well, if you go to Harvard and Yale, you got it made. I hate that they're going to be indoctrinated or brainwashed, or, you know, by these faculty, but well, send them anyway. Well, it's the exact opposite in Guatemala. But at any rate, we're going to partner with this university, and we're starting by just accepting two of their recent graduates into our MA program in economics. Of course, our MA program in economics is a purely free market-based program, and we offer courses in, for example, public choice economics and Austrian economics. And these students will come in, and we'll start trying to develop an exchange program where we have some of the faculty from Guatemala come here, where we come down there. This university has a campus in Madrid. We're hoping that we could develop some sort of summer programs where we have students going to Madrid. So this is all very exciting. The goal, I think, is to work toward maybe offering some courses in Spanish online so that we can really reach out to the Latin American world. 2 Saturdays ago, there was an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. I forget the author, but Xi Jinping in China and Putin in Russia are working very hard and very deliberately to cultivate relationships in Latin, so South and Central America. They're trying to subsidize infrastructure projects and to go down there and spread propaganda so that when the geopolitical shift continues and the balance of power starts moving to the Southern Hemisphere, they have allies in the Southern Hemisphere. Well, we in the United States need to be aware of this, and we need to be making efforts to start building our relationships in South and Central America, because a lot of those countries are dangerously close toward communism and socialism already. We don't need them to fall into the hands of a more prosperous China and Russia and have them become totalitarian and to have them turn against the United States, because they're our neighbors. They're right there. And there are people crossing our southern borders. And we need to educate those countries in the morality of free enterprise and the benefits of capitalism, because otherwise we'll be surrounded by enemies or by allies to China and Russia. And I see what we're doing here at Troy and at the Manuel H. Johnson Center is just a really small piece of a much broader picture in which we are trying to champion values that made the West special, values of free enterprise, values of capitalism and freedom of speech and freedom of opportunity. And I think that we will have exciting developments as this goes forward. And you know, it's kind of controversial. I don't know any other state institution that would be willing to take on a project like this. It's a bold thing to do for a university.
I think it's an awesome thing to do. I really do. And I totally agree with the program. And I wanted to mention this. I know some folks who actually make knives. And so it's a craft for them, and they engrave them. They do, and the beautiful handles and that kind of thing. And one of the guys used to live right here in Geraldine, Alabama. He has since relocated, but he and a group of his friends were going to Africa. And what they were doing was showing these Africans, they're trying to show them, just like you said, you know, how to make a profit, how to, you know, not do things for your own business.
Yeah.
And they've been a success at it. So
that's great.
Oh yeah, they'll go there and they'll stay like 2 months at a time teaching them how to engrave knives and then how to turn it into a business and how to make a profit.
Yes.
And I think what you guys are doing, I think it's awesome. It needs to be done. But how do you teach people who have never been taught free enterprise before?
Well,
Know nothing
there's some,
about it.
yeah, so they're different. I guess they're different levels of teaching. So there's the one, on the one hand, we're getting the graduate students who are coming to our MA program in economics, and they're coming from this university in Guatemala. And so they're already to some degree equipped with the knowledge of free markets because they're coming from this program. But what they're trying to do is improve their knowledge, refine their knowledge, gain more knowledge and expertise so that they can go back to their own country and they can do it. And so this would involve, you know, high level readings and discussions, textbooks, everything you would do in graduate studies to cultivate expertise. So that's one level. But the other level is the communication message. So one thing that we are hoping to do with these students while they're here is create a series of videos where we take someone like Adam Smith, the sort of the father of modern economics, the author of The Wealth of Nations, which came out in 1776, not coincidentally. It was a period in which Enlightenment ideals were in the air, in which you know, the principles of the American founding and the freedom and liberty that we were championing were also goals in other places. The Scottish Enlightenment, for example, was a champion of such ideals. But take somebody that sort of gets caricatured as a bad guy by the left, like an Adam Smith. Oh, you know, the invisible hand, and these are bad things. This is, well, and show how, well, Adam Smith was a great guy. He's the author of the Theory of Moral Sentiments. He's the person that's talking about loving your neighbor and how the commerce creates a virtuous society, and how big corporations don't just amass power through free enterprise, but actually through government subsidies and government intervention, and how, you know, even when big business that does these sort of things, like he was a big critic of the East India Tea Company for its ties to slavery, for instance, and things like that, and argued that the East India Tea Company was bad in no small degree because of the involvement of government in propping up its monopoly status. So we can give these messages in Spanish and just little short video clips that could sort of go viral. And we have, you know, young, attractive, exciting students to deliver the message, so it doesn't have to be people like me going up there, you know, that they may not want to watch. So
I listen to you all the time.
Yeah.
I do. Now you also have, are you still doing the shows through the college?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I have a program called Success Stories, and it is a program of the Sorrell College of Business that highlights the lives and careers of people who have accomplished great things. I actually use the TV studio down in Montgomery for that program. And my next two guests will be Chancellor Jack Hawkins, the Chancellor of Troy University, who is, by the way, the longest serving university president in the country. And he's in his 70s now. So he's been doing this for a long time. And then my next guest after that will be Judge Bill Pryor of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is principally based in Atlanta, but Bill Pryor's office is in Birmingham. We actually have Bill Pryor, Andrew Brasher, and Kevin Newsom are federal judges who have their offices in Birmingham, who are 11th Circuit judges. And so I'm excited about having him on. Of course, he was Alabama's Attorney General for many years before he became a federal judge. And that should be an exciting program as well. But I'm always looking for new guests and looking for exciting people who can come from the business community and talk about their businesses and how they got from here to there. And I like the story or the show because you hear from the stories of these people that there's not just a formula for success. There's not one way to make it. There are lots of different ways, and sometimes it just happens through hard work. Sometimes it happens through coincidences and luck. But typically, it's a combination of all those things. You don't get lucky unless you're working hard to create the opportunities to have luck. And you don't get luck if you don't work hard. So
It does. It
You
comes
know,
from all
and, you know, a lot,
that.
yeah, exactly.
You know, you hear people say, "Well, I'll just wait on the lottery." Well, what are your chances on winning the
No,
lottery?
no, yeah, you don't really
No,
have for that. Yeah.
you're going to really love this. This is so funny. I knew a guy in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he was constantly playing the lottery. I mean, always over and over again. So he collected all of those receipts where he had bought lottery tickets and tried to write them off as a business expense on his taxes.
Oh
And he told me
man.
he was going to do that. And I said, well, let me know if that works. I said, because you bought a lot of lottery tickets. His business was just terrible. And he was just always
Oh,
hoping that
no.
he'd win the lottery. And I said,
Okay.
but what are your odds? I mean, do you win anything? You might win $10 or $100 or something like that. So let's talk to those people that think,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to do it the easy way. I've not found an easy way. You just have to be passionate and work at it.
Well, I remember when I was in college, and this is a different situation, but I had he wasn't my roommate, but he lived in the dorm room next to mine.
Mhm.
And I forget what it was McDonald's did then, but they had some kind of contest where if you peeled off stickers from the cups, you could match this and that and get all these prizes. Well, somehow he figured out that you could game this system, and I don't know if he just went to McDonald's every day and just ordered Diet Cokes or something, but he ended up with a dorm room full. The floor of his dorm room was just covered in these stickers, and he was sitting there mixing and matching them and doing all this. And he ended up making a lot of money doing whatever he was doing. But he was spending all his time outside of class, like trying to do this McDonald's contest. It ended up being lucrative for him, but lucrative in the sense that he had a college student's budget. So this was making him, hundreds of dollars.
Uh-huh.
It's not something that you could actually make a living doing. It wasn't even thousands of dollars that he was making. But for a college student, he was doing okay, getting all these cups and peeling off stickers and matching them. But he spent so much time, there are opportunity costs for things like that. When you decide to spend your time mixing, matching these stickers, that means that's time you can't spend doing other things that maybe you'd be making more money at. But
Yeah,
I always
time
remember.
is important too. I mean, time is almost as important as gaining new customers.
Oh, it's such a scarce thing these days. The older you get, the less time there seems to be.
I know. I was actually planned on being retired by now. I'm 63, and I thought, I'm going to retire at 63. I can't do it. I just can't
You're
retire.
just starting.
And then Phil he has retired 3 different times. And of course, he's a little older than I am. And so, some people just can't do it.
Well, you think about this.
You got to be doing something.
I remember, of course, you remember Strom Thurmond. I don't remember how old he was. He was over 100 when he died.
Yeah.
Well, when he entered the Senate, he was like 50, or maybe even older than 50. So this was like his second career. But by the time he passed away, it seemed as though he had been in this for eternity. He was just a staple of the Senate, and he'd been there forever. But people forget, like, he had an entire career before he ever even did that. You remember him mostly for that.
Yeah, there was a singer. What was her name? Bonnie something. I can't remember what her last name was. And she didn't make her first successful hit until she was in her 50s, and it wound up being an awesome Bonnie. What is her name?
Oh, I'm not sure, but that's like Morgan Freeman.
It's before your time.
Okay.
It's more like in my time, but I've got to find that name real quick. Bonnie, I keep wanting to say Bonnie, and she was a rocker. Bonnie, Bonnie, Bonnie Raitt. Okay, and so very, very successful, but not until she's 72 now, not until she was in her 50s. Something's Got a Hold of My Heart was one of her hits. And so, you just never know. Sometimes people, especially women are busy raising kids and stuff. Well, the kids are out of the house and they think, you know what? I always wanted to go to college. And so they'll go ahead and go back, they'll go to college, go ahead and get another degree and whatever it was before, and start businesses and do very well at it.
Yes. Yep. I've heard numerous stories like that. And I've had students like that, especially when I was teaching at Faulkner University. I taught several courses in this evening program. And the program was designed for people who were mid-career or even late career or just working parents and wanted to come back and get a degree at a time when they could attend class. And I had so many students that were moving on to new careers. There's one that I know, and he was getting his bachelor's. I don't know how old he was when he started the program. I would say 40s. He may be in his 50s now, but he's now getting a PhD. So I've seen him get his bachelor's, I've seen him get his MBA, I've seen him get his master's, and now I'm watching him get his PhD, and he's starting this whole new career, and he may shift from the work he's doing now aligns with his business and what he's doing. But I suspect once he gets that PhD, he may shift to higher education and will have all kinds of valuable information for his students that a faculty member who got his PhD when he was in his 20s wouldn't, because the person that studied whatever field or industry he was in when he was 20s, but never got real world experience, doesn't have the stories, doesn't have that experience to translate for the students. Whereas this person will have the academic credentials and have that sort of theoretical knowledge, but will also have the real world concrete experiences to share with the students and say, yeah, in theory, this is how it should work, but let me tell you all the exceptions, or let me tell you how I saw this theory play out in reality. And that person's going to be such a valuable faculty member to some school at some point.
I think so. And I'm going to tell you who the best professors are. Those are the ones who can tell you what not to do based on experience that they had. They're the best ones. And I can sit and listen to them for hours. You know?
I remember in law school loving my classes with adjunct faculty, because the adjunct faculty were typically practicing lawyers and they were busy people, so they would spend less time getting bogged down in sort of the minutia of the textbook, and they would focus on the cases and the big picture, black letter law and stuff like that. But then they were able to relate what the textbook was teaching to actual cases that they had handled, and they could tell you war stories, and they were entertaining, and they were able to make the material come alive in a way that the faculty who had never practiced law, who had just graduated from law school, clerked for a federal judge for a year or two, and then gone into teaching, they've made that come alive in a way that those faculty could not.
Absolutely. Alan, time flies when you're on the show. Less than a minute now. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Thank you. I always enjoy it.
Absolutely. We're going to have to go into a commercial break. And Alan, looking forward to seeing you next month, okay?
Sounds good, Donna.
Okay, let's go ahead and go into commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes with another awesome guest. Alan's the best. Oh, wait a minute. Alan, what's your website?
AlanMendenhall.com, www.alanmendenhall.com. That's ALLENMENDENHALL.
If you didn't hear that, send me a text and I'll go ahead and get it to you. You can find his works there. Bye, Alan. You have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Folks, we'll see you back in just a few minutes.
I said, God, you gotta move this mountain. I just don't see it any other way. I'm too weak to make the climb. I need a miracle this time. That's when I heard the voice from heaven say, don't tell me about that mountain, tell that mountain about me. Face your fear, shout my name, proclaim the name